Welcome back to What's in My Drawers. It's a golf talk because old guys, old club makers are tremendous pack rats, and we always keep everything. And that's how we started this live stream. It was all about what did I have? And we talked about some golf history stuff, and it's kind of, this whole live stream is kind of evolved really into what's going on in the world of golf. Sometimes I find a few trinkets back in there when I'm cleaning out things, and we get to talk about that. And you know, it's just kind of evolving, and I really like that. So to get some of the business out of the way early, if you would like, subscribe to this. If you haven't already, subscribe to my other social platforms, which is Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Look up McGolf Custom Clubs or I Am McGolf, and you will find me there. That way you know more about what's going on in the shop. So let's get started. How about the Shriners? The Shriner Open, Martin Laird, Scotsman. And what is it with the old guys winning, right? You got Martin, and you had, Stewart Sink winning. There's a lot of 40s guys bringing it on early on, probably because the young guns are going to be wearing them out at the end. But way to go, Martin Laird. Congratulations. And at a, was it 24 under, and then had to go in a three-way playoff, I think it was, in order to hold off a couple of really up-and-coming young guns. So that's pretty good. I'm real happy to see him do that. So congratulations to Mr. Martin Laird. We like him for that stuff. All right. So going on, so up-and-coming is a video on these guys. All right. And these are some old Hogan GCDs. And what happened is the owner of these had the chrome taken off and had them custom made into black. Okay. He's kind of a hobbyist club maker, which is very, very cool. And he sent them to me to make them more like his other clubs that he had, which happened to be Hogan medallions. And those guys are easily 10 to 12 years old as well. And he said, make them the same. Well, make them the same is kind of a general topic, and that's what the video is about. And I'm in the throes of finishing it because I just finished this guy. As you can see, we got he had the same white ferrule. We just put a little bit of I took the old ones off and put some new ones on. And we were using the Aldila NV, right? He used the Aldila NV 95S. Kind of a neat shaft. It's very, very stiff in the butt, though, I will say that. And then we blew off the grips, and we were able to save all but one of the lambkins. These are going back to 29 Palms, California. Now, the only thing is I missed the swing weight, to be exact. I'm missing it by about a swing weight and a half. Swing weight and a half. And so if you're listening out there, Mr. Jolly, I got a question for you, so if you're on here, we'll find out, and I'll ask you. If not, I'll send you an email. Another one is, and we've been talking about single length for quite a bit of time, is this one. This is the old style Sterling. This is the first generation model, and he sent me the heads, and he sent me the Wishon white shaft, and asked for the green ferrule, which we obliged. And then wanted the green grip, which we obliged, and we put a couple rolls of tape underneath of it to make it mid-sized. Single length to 37 inches, and they came out pretty good. Now, I will say, I like Tom Wishon. I think he's pretty doggone good, okay? But those shafts are not, and they're tough to work with. You've got to be on your game if you're going to do that, and very much so because of the just because they're not as consistent as I thought they would be. So we got them all matched up though, man, and they are coming out pretty good. I just had to flow them and spine them, and we're rocking and rolling. So we were there with that. Something else that made a big old splash onto the market and here in recent time. I guess I'm going to leave it on there. The corded grip from Golf Pride. Remember the Pro Onlys that was all black and it had that smooth, it was a smooth texture but had a grip on it. And they come in three kinds. They come in a green, which is a star, a green star. They got a red star, and then they got a blue. If you look at the tops of all these, this is, see the that's the shape at the butt. And then see how that one's oval, and then this one's got more sides on it. All right, so this one is more triangular. The blue is more triangular, where it wants to sit in the hands a little bit more. See how easy it is to bring that around, and it sits in the hands. It's got kind of a wide paddle on the front, so that you can set your hands, your thumbs, right on there and get into it. The part I like about this is these grips that Golf Pride did very well on is it's still kind of sticky. It's not like super tackier, but it's kind of got that stickier rubber, and it's coarse, but not as coarse as you would think a corded grip would be. Okay, and I think they're actually quite nice. Now the green is one that probably most would gravitate to, and it's oval. All right, your fingers want to sit in it. They're a little more. They're not nearly as and you fit in there. That this is kind of, we'll call it more comfortable. And it's a little wider, if you notice it, where this one is wide on the front, this one's wide on the sides. See where my fingers are? But this is the front. All right. And so it's a little wider as you set your hands in here, but not necessarily on top. And then the final one, the red, is the proverbial standard Golf Pride grip. It is standard size. There's nothing big or small about it. It is the proverbial. That's what it looks like. It's but they have a really nice texture. I could see it will be real easy to get into some of this, and then it's going to wear forever because it's corded, right? It's just absolutely corded. So there we go. And so that's what we have going on. So be prepared. We have a video coming out tomorrow, be in the morning, and it's either going to be on, I revisited redoing ferrules, or if I get finished up with Mr. Jolly's clubs, then we're going to be doing that. All righty. Looks like we've got comments galore coming, so let's see what we got there. We go all the way to the top. Here we go. Phil from Scotland already, dude. Thank you. If I put a 6-iron shaft in a 7-iron head, am I soft or hard stepping? You are soft stepping. All right. When the shaft that is bigger than the head, you're soft stepping. Okay. If you were putting an 8 into a 7, you would be hard stepping in that particular instance because there's less shaft. When you got more shaft, and then into a smaller head, that's making it softer. And you will also go by about, depending on the shaft, but most cases you're going to soften it by somewhere around a third of a flex. That seems to be the written guideline, a written guideline, but that's what it is. Henry. No. Is Magnolia Grove part of that trail, whatever that the designer's trail? That sounds like it would be along that lines. I've heard a lot of people going to Alabama and having a good time, but never anybody specifically going over there. All right. I've ordered a set of Callaway 19s in August. Was told last week that they have my shafts, but they don't have any heads. What's going on? Well, Spanner, I can tell you that the Apex 19 is on the way out, and what you're seeing, what you're experiencing is two things. One, they're at the end of their model year, and number two is that even though that they forecasted it out, they have been very, very late in their shipments from overseas, and due to the COVID. I mean, they're going to stand on that one. So that's what's going on now. August, September, October. That's a lot. That's a lot of time. I'd get a hold of them and ask them if they really think that the heads are actually coming in. And maybe you get lucky enough and get into the next set that's coming out. I'm told it's supposed to be really nice. And there you go. How about that? Let's see. Northern Minnesota. When you strip off chrome off irons to have a raw finish, how much weight is lost? And what's the best way to get the weight back? Well, Dan, you're seeing it right here. I mean, this is it right here. And it's hilarious. I mean, it's a good looking club. I mean, they shined it up really, really well. If you're going to keep in mind, if you're going to go totally raw, the thing's going to rust. And so if you like it a different color, much like our man here did, I would ask to have another finish put on it, and that could add a little bit of weight. But you have to keep in mind, when you remove the chrome, and it depends on the year, okay? In the day, you had the raw finish, and then maybe a layer of soft metal, layer of chrome or copper, and then the nickel, which is the chrome, or the nickel, and then you dip it and you get chrome. However, depending on what your chroming philosophy is, but it's mostly a lot of shiny nickel. Anyway, and then as time got newer, the copper went away, and you just had a layer of metal, I believe, and then you're into the chrome, and sometimes you're just into the chrome. So what you really need to do, if you haven't done it already, is get an original weight of the club head, and then I would just basically add it back into the tip, because it can't be that much. To the point, I put a 4 gram in this guy, and it's a little shy. I would think around 6 might be the thing, and then you'd be there. And I think you'll be right on it. Lombard, Illinois. Jack is back. Well done. Started getting nippy up there. It's 70 degrees here today. Went golfing with my dad. I wish I could have put on a better display for him, but 3-putt in the very first green, and it's sitting in a sucker position. It was my fault. But after that, it's out of like 42-42 basically is what it came out to be. Totally lost my swing in the last 2 weeks. Completely lost it, and I refound it about halfway around the back nine. So it's too bad it took too late, but at least now I got my confidence back. The Netherlands has joined. All right. 73 on Friday. Man, I need to figure out how you get that good. How do you determine the average carry distance of a club? Does that change from hitting off a studio to off of grass? Well, man, that's a good question. All right. On average, we'll just say for a driver, and it's not off of a mat, it's off of a tee, so it's not a big deal. But on average, it's 2.5 miles per hour, or 2.5 yards per mile per hour. Okay. So for every 1 mile per hour, you get 2.5 yards. So at 10, it's 25, 100 is 250. And that should be carry. I rarely get to see that, but if you get really, really close, you know you're doing good. And that's about that. Now, starting around the 5 or 6 iron-ish, 5 or 6 iron, you're around 2.25 yards per mile per hour. So 2.25 yards. Now that's on average. Now what is that? What are we saying? That's basically smash factor. Okay. It's basically smash factor, and smash factor is nothing more than a ratio of your club head speed versus your ball speed. And the more you get towards the middle, the better off you are. And that's what gives you the better. And that's very, very important, because that will override swing speed a lot. Okay, a lot. And we really, really have to, you really, really want a good quality of hit. And much case in point, if you're hitting blades or tour-like irons or whatever, and you notice that you get off just that teeny-weeny little bit, you're swinging the same miles per hour, but you just didn't hit it in the nicest spot possible, and you're going to pay a penalty in distance and a lot of it. So you really, and that's the reason why perimeter weighting becomes so preferential for, well, even better players for that matter, but for the average golfer, because that miss is not nearly as penal. That kind of took me all the way off track, however, but then, and then in here, basically I use the flight scope and we just see what they're doing and how they're hitting, and then we, get them into the better club. Now, there is a difference between a mat and off the grass. There can be an argument for that. There can be an argument for hitting off of real grass because that's what you hit on and da 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 da. But I would also argue that as you go through the playing season, if that was the case, if that truly was the case, then you would need 3 sets of clubs, or at a minimum 2. So for the 2 fluffy seasons at the fall and the spring, and then 1 for the winter season, because it's different grass, right? You get really fluffy and dense, and in the summertime it tends to thin out, and then you're playing in what we would call the fall time, and basically it can be very hard, it can be very dry or very wet, and so you have all these different conditions that you have to play out of. Where on the mat, it's the same no matter what. And then that you can take that to the course, and that's just the opposite of the philosophy. Now, really, the fiber built guys, I've had some fairly in-depth discussions with them, and the latest matting that they've had in this country club mat, they do launch angle, spin rates, deflections, the whole 9 yards, ball speeds, and they are, what are they? Their launch angle is almost identical, and the speed of which it comes off is almost identical, and the spin rate is off by a couple of hundred RPM. That's doing a lot of testing. So in my particular situation, I'm very, very confident that what you take here is going to be what you get out there, to the point I'm a little more conservative in here so that you have better results out there. Now, you see a lot of those guys that are hitting off of those mats that you might see in a simulator or on just the mat part of it. And those are very, very false positives. Okay, very false positives. And I would not recommend that. So way to go, Matt. You just took me all over the place, buddy. I hope you're laughing. Oh, there we go. Willard, hey, buddy, how you doing? Hopefully it's a little bit warmer than last week. And thanks for that backup on that other comment from that other goober that was out there. All right. Joe from Leeds again. Were you able to get out? Is it that time in the UK where people put up sticks, or are you guys the toughest golfers on the planet? What's it going to be? San Jose checking in. All right. I just talked to my grandson yesterday. Was it yesterday or the day before? He turned 7. He's in San Jose. And 4th week of knee replacement. Woo-wee. How's the physical therapy on that bad boy? I've had, of course, I'm at that age where I see a lot of people getting that done now. And I'd say it's about a 60-40 split that they would, readily go get the other one done, where the other ones would have reservations. And it's purely because of the therapy that they have to go through. They just don't like it. Outside of that, their knee is great. So hopefully it's doing you well, James. Hopefully. Let's keep it going. All right. Rodney. I need a Cobra F8 1-length PW shaft replaced. S-Flex. Specs. I believe we can. We just did one. Actually, we did one for a lob wedge. And I don't know how a flighted one got in there, but yeah, we can get single flighted ones for that for sure. If you could, just to make sure, send me whatever the next one up, the 9-iron, if you would, with it, if you decide to do this. And that way I can make sure that everything is equal, because when they're broken, they're really hard to make exact. So yeah, give Robin an email. She'll be able to help you right out. Buffalo, New York. All right, just got fitted in the Maverick with a hazardous black 70. You are the man, dude. You are the man. From an F8 with Alder Green stiff flex, picked up 20 yards of carry. That's pretty doggone good, man. And when you pick up 20 yards of carry, that's good. I don't care what club you're hitting. That's really, really good. Now, I will say the Maverick has been a very, very good driver. The F8, the Cobra F8 has been a really, you see it on the internet where there's a lot talking about ball speed. And it may very well be because of the, incorporated with other things going in the head, but they have that milled face. And you can see it where it's centered, and then it just radiates out, and it must give you a little bit of spring. But there's something about the shape as well. I think that's certainly a competitor. Sometimes the one, if Cobras, and I like Cobra. That's one of my first sets I ever owned. However, Cobra tends to have a very short hosel length in insertion depth, particularly in their irons, but I think it carries over into the driver. And I don't know if the philosophy is to give it more, pardon me, I don't even know where that came from, to give it more kick. That's the only reason why I can think of. I'm not a fan of that. But, a lot of people are digging the F8. A lot of people aren't digging the yellow, but they're getting there. Now the Maverick, I like the Maverick. I like the shape of it. And when you went through your fitting, hopefully what you had the opportunity to hit the Sub-Zero, and it's a low spinning club head in a slightly different shape, not necessarily from the top, but from the side view. The Maverick itself is very aerodynamic, where the Max is a little flatter on the bottom, and the Sub-Zero is just a little in between. I prefer the Sub-Zero because I'm a spinner of the ball. Not that I'm a better hitter. It's just I'm a bigger spinner of the ball, and it helps me bring it down. So good. And whoever did that fitting must have been all right. Very good. Well, there you go. I like the logo, Patrick. I like the logo. Is that about a 2000s model? Anyway, yeah, 29 palms. That's where this one's going back to. So it's very, very cool. There he is from Leeds again. The Space Coast. Al's back. Well done. Hopefully, nobody got hurt with all the storms yet, have they? I'd like to hear it, make sure everybody's okay. Here we go, Scrunchy. Had a fitting at Club Champion in Texas. Aye, good. Can I trust the data I got? I saw an increase of 7-mile-per-hour ball speed with a 6-iron versus my gamer 6-iron at the same loft, new head and shaft. Well, yeah, I would think so. I don't, Club Champion hasn't been known to jack up their fittings. As far, I don't have any association with those guys other than I know a few of them. But as far as I can tell, they're fitting the way that they fit. A lot of those guys, as you get into a big company, some fall through the cracks, but as a whole, they do a pretty good job. Now, what I would call into question is their findings as far as specs, not necessarily results. What you got is a result. And if you went from, say, and it's hard to say without knowing the two club heads that you were hit, what your gamer was, but the in irons is just as important for the particular profile of the shaft, the weight of the shaft. Although the lie angle can really make a difference in how getting you into the middle of the club face. I would bet money that your, like we were talking earlier, that your smash factor, your quality of your hit went up, and that's the reason why you're seeing it. All right. Lorinda's back. Hello there in California. Hopefully you're not near the fires. And did you like all that? Did you like the short club and the way they weighed it? I'm kind of waiting to hear. Come on down, Matt. We're ready. Oh, I missed it. I went too far again. It went all the way down to the bottom. Here we go. Tim's in. Well done, Tim. Wade in Oregon. Wade, I know I haven't heard any reports as of late, but the fires there are out. Hopefully you guys aren't in that one either. Man, that'd be tough. There we go. Tennessee. Well done, Tennessee. Yeah, these shafts, I'm going to say, so, okay, Aldala makes their shafts a little different than most of the other folks, and it's you see it a lot in their driver shafts, but the technology and what they do really comes across in the irons as well. And as case in point, where most might use 14 layers of graphite, let's say, to get to a graphite shaft like this, these guys will use somewhere in the high 20s, low 30s, and they'll use what they call micro layers. So it's a smaller graphite. Okay, it's a smaller graphite, and they make more of it so that they can really narrow it down. However, what we have found is these bad boys are stiff. All right, and that was the same thing with the original Aldala greens. They were stiff. They were very, very stiff, and that's the reason why they came out with the Aldala chromes or the NVSs. The NVSs were outstanding. That fit most golfers. And I think they may have to reevaluate this one too, because you're going to have to be pretty stout to bring this one around. It is part of okay, Robert Trent Jones. There we go. All right. I didn't know if it was or if it wasn't. Oh, we're just trying to eat better, man. But ever so slightly. You were correct. Ever so slightly. All right. Do you need to trim shafts, or does it make the shafts softer, stiffer? Graphite shaft. Oh, okay. You're asking me there. I see down below graphite shafts. Okay, so whether it's graphite or steel, the same principles apply. If you have a taper tip shaft, it will not do any tip trimming because they will be made in discrete lengths, and from normally about 37.5 all the way up to 40, sometimes 41, depending on the number of SKUs the company wants to carry. But 40 is typically the number. And what you'll do is that'll say that 37.5 is basically good for a pitch and wedge and a 9, and then 38, 39, blah, 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 all the way up, right? And what that's for is so that you just butt trim it to length and away you go. They make it extra so you can have a longer club. And that's what that's for. Now, if you're in a parallel tip or the 370, yes, you will do some tip trimming in order to get to the flex. And why do we do that? Well, it's because each head has individual purpose, just like the other ones, but they weigh on average 7 grams more as they go down the set. And so you have to trim off a little bit more so the flex remains constant throughout the set. And then you trim the length. And if you know you're doing it correctly, which this was the perfect example with Mr. Single Length and a parallel tip. There we go with Sean. Anyway, you know you're doing good even when you're you're trimming off on the bottom and then you're trimming off the top, that you're basically trimming about the same amount. You know you had yourself a good setup. Jersey's in the house. I don't know, Travis, if I asked you this before, my best buddy in the Navy was from Jersey, and he absolutely hated it. I know I probably asked you, but what exit, man? All righty. Tim. Oh, okay. Cincinnati. Hey, buddy. Right now I am hitting the Maverick Sub-Zero 10.5 degree, and I'm using the Acra FX 2.0 in the red, and it's the one with the medium ball flight, and it has a little bit more, we'll call it action for lack of a better term, and I like that. I'm also gaming the first generation Epic hybrids with the recoil shafts in them. I just like the shape, and they tend to respond very, very well. And I don't carry any hybrids. In the irons, I am hitting the new level 1026s. And I also have a set from Callaway of the Mavericks. And if I ever want to hit a 200-yard 7-iron, that's the set that I take with me. They are strong, to be sure. It's a good club. A little more offset for me, and I would just tug everything to my right because I'm a lefty. And then the wedges, I went with the Mizuno T20s. However, that shaft that you guys saw me put in them, if you're looking at any of the videos, it was a 90 grammer. It's just too light. I'm not doing very good with it. So those were very personal wedges because of the very first kind that I could do, and there's some family and military and stuff. So I'm going to hang those up, and I'm going to try again with some new wedges. There we go. Just had a camera failure. Sorry about that, guys. Anyway, so that's where we're at. And then uh, my putter is the Odyssey Bird of Prey for a couple of reasons. I needed a longer sight line, and two, I'm kind of a Star Trek kind of freak, so I liked it. But I put a Garson grip on it, and I've gone from a whole bunch of 3 putts to maybe one or even one, two tops around versus all kinds. So, yeah, I'm happy with it. 91 in Houston. Tony, holy cow. I hate to see what it looks like when summer comes along. Well, I got invited. Over at my other work, there's a whole bunch of folks in a department we're just all tore up with golf. And what'll happen is once or twice a year, they will schedule a time and we'll pick a spot. And one of the guys that's in the group actually played there. He's played there a couple of times, as a matter of fact, and convinced all of us that this is what we needed to do, and we went. Definitely worth a visit. I mean, I do like the layout. I wasn't a real big fan of the blue track. I mean, it was funny. I would hit very, very well into the fairway, but the second shot was just amazingly bad. But a lot of it was because the thing holds water, and if they could figure out how to mow grass there, that would be a premier spot because they've got, the rooms are nice, the food was great. You just have to make sure you bring enough of whatever it is you like consuming, and you'd be good to go. There, just said that. All right. How many grams of tungsten is too much to add and mix into epoxy? Get the head back up. Oh, you're using the B weights. Wow. C5 with 110s, really? Hopefully you're at the same one. I would say no more than 10. All right. And the reason why I say no more than 10 is because although 10 isn't very much for tungsten powder, it's a lot when you're talking about the design of the club. Once you start getting at 10 or bigger, you start impacting where you start moving center of gravities and such. All right. And you'll make it come close to the heel, and then it will make the club almost implayable. All right. That's the reason why I would not add that much tungsten, that much more tungsten. And if you got that, at least you're looking at a D0 when you get to it. That may not be too bad, but no more than 10. That's where I would go. Just from Iowa, there we go. Wondering about shortening a hazardous smoke yellow driver shaft, which is counterbalanced. If I take a ½ inch off the butt, how much head weight will I need to add at about, and what about 1 inch? Well, the counterbalanced is counterbalance. Although it's counterbalanced, meaning that there's more weight in the back of the shaft. It's more like the balance point has been moved, and yes, there is some weight, but it doesn't mean it's all at the tip, Jeff. And so you can treat it just like anything else, because length and swing weight are totally connected. And if you take off 1/2 of an inch, that's 3 swing weight points. If you take off an inch, that's 6 swing weight points. And each swing weight point is worth 2 grams in the driver. Okay. Sandblast the face of the hot metal or X-Hot irons. Those X-Hots weren't too bad. Baghdaddy 2s. Put a little bit more life in I have in my sandblaster right now, it is aluminum oxide, but it is blast media though. It's so there's glass media, there's charcoal, there's aluminum oxide. I've even heard of walnut shells, and just all depends on the needle at the end of your blaster, and that can be an issue as well. It's more about grit than anything else. And I would, if you're looking to really, you got to be careful because you don't want to make them illegal. But I used what they would call not an extra fine powder, but a fine powder. And then I cranked up the air on it. And that seemed to be just enough. And it gave you that really cool gray look too. And that's where I would go with it. Yeah, oh yeah, Jeff, they've been out of Apex Pro Heads for a bit now. And that's too bad. Just another fellow above us he was ordered in August, and he's not seeing hide nor hair of it either. And I just hope that they make their commitment to you guys if you've ordered these things. And if they haven't, I'm kind of hoping they make good with giving you the new ones, right? Would that not be cool or what? George. I'm laughing at that because you're asking a fitter if a fitter is important. All right. So okay, so here's the long and the short. This is a chicken or egg kind of question. All right. However, it would be my opinion, and hopefully it's shared by a lot of people. If you are a very, very beginning golfer, like you figuring out, which end of this to hold, right? And you don't know the difference between what the PW and the upside down 9 means, then no, right? It's all about, you got to get kind of comfortable in your own skin first. Now, does that mean that you have to golf 4 or 5 years to be able to be something better than that? The answer to that is also no. Okay. An average golfer, and it's proven, there's stats for this, an average golfer will get more out of a fitting than, say, a a handicap golfer that's very close to zero. Okay. Now, how is that measured? It's measured and because you have bigger rooms for improvement. If you're an average golfer and this is your score, and you get to a fitting and all of a sudden this is your score, well, that's a big improvement. Now, if you're a low handicap golfer and I give you this much, right, and you go the same percentage, you've only moved in that little bit. Now, and the wants and the needs are different at both ends, to be sure. Okay. The average golfer, particularly if you're shorter, taller, have a kind of may have a medical issue like a shoulder or arthritis, or you've broken an elbow, or had a heart attack, or knee replacement, like we're talking about. Okay, then a fitting can certainly help you in determining the proper equipment. Now, does that mean you're going to go out and shoot par? No. All right. It just means you're going to play better golf, because when it comes right down to it, the person at the end of that golf club is the one that's got to make the thing swing. All right. And that's it. Now, at the other end, where if you're a much, much better golfer, your desires or your needs are much, much different, because now you've left the whole idea of mechanical things, and now you're going, I need it to feel this way. I need it to fly like this. I need it to go like that. I need to have it so that when I swing like this, I can have my draw or my fade, or I can work the ball or whatever. They have a different need, and they play golf differently than the average golfer. And yet, will they get something out of it? To be sure, right? But when you're measuring it in handicap miss or getting smaller, they don't have as much to go on until they start going plus, and that is extraordinarily difficult. All right. But the average golfer go like that. Now, all that being said, I am a big proponent of a little bit of both. If you're going through a fitting, it should never, ever be just let me throw some stuff underneath of you just to see if you hit this one better or the other. There ought to be a given plan of how you're going to attack certain problems. Okay. Because a fitting is educational at best, in that you should be telling the fitter, this is how I golf, this is where I golf at, these are the things that I would like to stop doing with my current set, that I'm doing with my current set, and these are the things I would prefer to do golfing as a whole. All right. And then that fitter should take that information and say, okay, here's our plan of attack. We need to find length first, and then we need to find the lie angle, and then we need to find all, and however their plan goes, but there ought to be a bam, 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 very logical thing, instead of going, well, come on in here and hit a few balls and let me see what you got. How about you tell me what you got? And then that way, because you're going to get warmed up and they're going to be able to see it. All right. They're going to be able to see it. And then now the fitter has even more information to help you out, because I will guarantee the largest percentage of golfers and what they think they do and what they actually do are not like that. They're probably like that. Okay. And that's part of the bring-in reality. Now, if the fitter sees a mechanical deficiency, i.e. a cast in a club, or you don't turn, or you reach back too far, or you don't finish, or something like that, you should mention that. That should be mentioned to you. You ought to take these swing faults, and if they're really good, they can even talk about swing fixes. Now, that you start stepping outside the boundaries of a fitting, but if what we do here is, if I can eliminate some faults, that means more options are open to you in order for you to be able to play better golf. So, long story short, yes. And I think you could do that if you're playing well. Now, again, if you're a guy that goes out once a year with the buddies for a corporate outing just because you have to, maybe once just to say you did it, but do you need anything else after that? No. Because you're only going to go out there once. You just don't really need to do that. All right. But more of a common sense application. Ew, wintergreens. Phil, do they over here? There's every once in a while there's a practice down south that they spray paint the greens green. Do they do something like that over there? Let's see. Joe, yes, I won the October medal on Saturday. Nice. Well done. Congratulations, sir. But it was cold if our course doesn't close. If you're brave. That is true. I do have a story for that one. I used to live in Iowa, and it was Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and basically where I really caught the golf bug. And the golf course that we played at was called St. Andrews, and consequently, and I lived on the other side of it, and that's how I found out about it. Anyway, we played golf there quite regularly, and when I was leaving St. Andrews and Cedar Rapids to move here, it was snowing snowflakes about as big around as my mouse, and it was just coming down. It's typical Iowa weather, and it was just starting, first really good snowfall, and the road that we take to get out to the main road divided the course. There was about 3 holes to one side and the rest of the course the other, and you would drive underneath of it. And as we're driving by, there sits 4 guys, toboggans, vests, long sleeves, the whole 9 yards, the whole getup, and they're out there playing golf in the middle of the snow coming down. Those are some tough cookies, man. They were some really tough cats. So they got my impression, and I'm telling you what. All righty. Any word on the new ping putters with the adjustable length shafts? Well, they've got them. Was there a holdup on them? I haven't had one. I've had 2 in here personally, and I've adjusted them. They come with the little tool, and there's no set screw to make them stay in, but I think it's a neat setup, to be honest. And then all you have to do is adjust the lie angle. I think that was really quite a neat little idea, and assuming that it stays in spot. But the grips that they had were very nice. Again, that's how Ping got on board, right? As they made their name via the putter. Good. Glad you're liking the Garson. Good, good, good. Yeah, I'm telling you, dude, that came out of nowhere. It's been quite a busy day. We did those 2 sets of clubs, and then went and did golfing with Dad, and then we're starting to take on yet another hobby. I'm not going to really get into it right here because this is a golf channel. But yeah, we've been moving and shaking all day. Eric, thanks, buddy. I don't know about a legend, man, but thanks. Oh, here we go. Warren Slick. That's a good one. What's this in? Peace, love, barbecue. Dude, I'm digging that one. Peace, love, and barbecue. You got my attention. I'm all over that one. When do you recommend graphite shafts for irons? Does the swing speed come into play? You know what? My swing speed is around 95, 92 to 97. We'll call it 95. I've been playing graphite for quite some time. All right. Graphite has had a bad rap, okay, in that it's only for old people. And you see it right there. That's some. And then I've got a whole line of them back here. And so graphite has much more models, much more profiles, much more weights to choose from now. And what they are is a tremendous shock absorber, right? They're really good. So if you have joint pain, it doesn't have to be necessarily here, but here, right? Even in the spine, it can help you out dramatically, right? If you're a smoother swinger, now graphite is typically lighter, right? It is typically lighter. And so for guys with smoother transitions, smoother rhythmic flow, you play them anytime, all the way up to being fast. You can still be rhythmic and still be very fast. Okay. There's nothing wrong with that. You'd be surprised. Now, the negative to graphite is when they start having to add weight, where they start getting into steel territory, the 100, the 105, the 120s. it's really hard not to be brutish, and I mean like a piece of rebar. But if that's what you're looking for, then you found it, and there it is. But at 75, if we're talking about driver swing speed, yeah, give it a holler, give it a shot. Because if nothing else, because of its lighter, assuming you can handle it, you should pick up a few miles per hour, and that translates into distance as long as it's in the middle of the face. So yeah, because at 75, you're probably in that senior flex, but don't, again, because it's not all about swing speed. It's about transition. It's about release. It's about how you like golfing. So you could find yourself not in an S flex, but maybe in an A flex or even an R, just because of the way that you transition. Okay. And that's the important part about it. Whoop. Got away from me again. My gosh. Here we go. There you go. Nuke Spartan. Nuke Spartan. I hope, what kind of nuke, dude? And Taylormade Simmax. So the Max is their draw bias club. The Hazardous Yellow is the one I believe is the more flexible. Am I right? And 14 degrees, 2200 RPMs. That's about where you want to be, dude. Good job. I'm not a TaylorMade fan, but you know what? If it works, I don't care if it looks like a toaster on a stick. George from Pennsylvania, 6'1", 36.5 wrist to floor measurement. Do I need custom clubs? My irons are left then right and sometimes straight. George from Pennsylvania. Well, it's good to know the height, George. 36.5, that's pretty tall, I would think. The left right, if nothing else, George, the left right and straight would tell me that the length of your club is not correct, whether it be too short or too long. And I don't necessarily know about custom clubs per se, but I would go get fit just to find out what the right length was and see if they can adjust your clubs accordingly. Because if you have newer clubs, within the last 4 or 5 years, there's no reason why you couldn't have them extended or cut down and the lie angles adjusted and be playing just fine. But yeah, I would check into that. Florida checking in. If you put on an adapter and say you change it from 9 to 11, does that mean you're not in line with the spine anymore? So, Doug, if you're using a Cobra, TaylorMade, quite a Ping, all the ones where you have to twist them in order to get them in there, the answer is yes. You're not in spine anymore. There's only two that I know where the cogs move, and the Callaway, and you move the cogs and the spine stays in the same spot. And I know Titleist have cogs, but I don't know. Some of them only have one cog, and then you have to turn the shaft and then turn the cog, and then you get it in there, and some you don't. But if you have the one where you have the two cogs, then no. Then yes, your spine is still there. Thanks, Matador. Thank you so much. We're having a lot of fun. You know what? This is becoming quite a really cool every Monday night kind of thing because you guys ask so many cool questions, and it keeps me, after a while, what I have to do is I got to go back and dig into some books and make sure that I'm on my game. Love the feel and the load of the KBS Tour, but need less spin. Well, if you wanted to stay within the KBS line, there is a C taper. However, I'll preface this with, I have found out that the C taper and taper tip is a much different animal than the C taper and the parallel tip. In the parallel tip, it's a much softer beastie, and it's much easier to bring around, where the taper tip is much harder. So if you have to have a taper tip, make sure you soft step it, and then you'll probably like it. Now, if you like that feel and you want a little bit less, they make a C taper light, or even better yet, I would think the dollar taper, the S taper. I would give those a shot. All right. I'll have to go back, Pooey. I don't know. All right. Thank you, Dave, from Ireland, no less. Thank you so very much. Russ, it was. It was very dewy. He's talking about, I sent a picture out onto Twitter, and I just came across the tee box, and it was just had that, as much as I hate to sound like a photographer, but it just had the right light. And put the 2 golf balls in there, and then I picked up a bunch of dew. And that's how it normally does for us. When my dad and I get out there, the first 5 or 6 holes are very wet, but normally we're following the greens mower, so we're playing through dew. However, the greens are freshly mowed, so I don't lose a lot of speed. So that's pretty cool. Here we go. Now we're going to find out what they are. CB, 690s. Okay. In the Hogan PTX Pros. Okay, good. Hogan PTX Pros with Project X 6.0s. Hogan's are a degree stronger. We added a degree loft to affect spin. Went from 113 to 120. Huh. Well, you can... a degree stronger. Now, you're going from DGs to LZs. Those are two different animals as well. The LZ is a much to me. I would pick the Project X LZ heads and shoulders above the DGs every time. The DG is a staple for True Temper or True Sports now, and it will always be a staple because most golfers won't get away from it. But the LZ tends to snap into the ball better, in my opinion. I tend to like them a little bit more, and they're not as harsh. They should feel pretty smooth to you, right? And you're going from, you're gonna have to forgive me. I'm not real particularly informed on PTX Pros from Hogan, but if you're going from a 690 is a fairly small cavity back to something that's a little bit bigger, you're probably getting a little bit more effect. So, and again, Club Champion, I believe, uses the flight scope. So unless he's stopping you somewhere in the middle just to kind of get over the techie part of it, he would have had to have stopped you somewhere in order to change some environmental impact in order for you to do. That's the only way they can make that happen. So if you didn't have a delay, what is the deal here? You're not going to have that problem. All righty. Last couple more. Lorinda ordered a counterweights, waiting to put them in. There you go. They are pretty nice, aren't they? They're very, very good. I like them as well. Very good, Russ. I like that. East Yorkshire. Is it Yorkshire or Yorkshire? But thank you, England. God, I know you guys are up late, and I appreciate you guys getting on. Thank you so very much. Well done. Tubbsy, you're out there too in the cold, I know. Trying to get down here. Let's see. I'm not familiar with the graphite shaft in that particular range. Oh my. You might look at some of these models that are getting ready to be discontinued. Like Recoil has a whole bunch. However, for a newer model, you might look into GolfWorks in they have their own levels, their own GolfWorks brand. They're pretty decent and certainly in that particular ballpark. Maryland. There we go. Maryland. Where in Maryland? I was in Cape St. Clair for a while. Let's see. Increase driver from Maryland. Increase driver loft or adjust weights to increase the launch angle. Well, it depends on what you're trying to look for. If you're adjusting weights, you're going to be moving a lot of weight back, right? And then you have to add a lot of weight to get underneath the center of gravity, and then you start messing around with the dynamics. And if you're looking at, if the whole idea here is, if I add loft, I'm going to add spin. If I can just pull it back and get it up there, the loft angle will still go and I can still get it up there. That's a good idea, but it's only tweaks. Weight movement's only a tweak. If you really, really need to get it high, then you're going to have to adjust the loft. All right, so the Simmax again is the draw bias. The Vintage 50 at 97 mile per hour, that's okay, but what you say here, lower 73, the 5CT, that means that's the right one. But you're going to a 44-inch. That's probably the thing right there, right? The 44-inch. And I like the Jumbo Max medium grip. I like the idea of that. That's pretty cool. Now what you're doing is you're kind of putting more weight in your hands, and so what's probably happening now is you're catching that with a closed face, and when it's closing, it's taking a little bit less, and for that. So that's probably what's happening. Well, very good. I'm glad we could help. Oh no, those guys, Jeff, those guys are some tough nuggets, buddy. I tell you what. Here we go. No, they make a temporary green on the fairway just in front of the normal green. That makes more sense. Well, George, if you think about doing the fitting, if you think about Columbus, wherever it is, Columbus, we're just basically an hour south of that. So you can make the time. And there is a highway that cuts that off a little bit, so he could help you out there. All right. Do you use the optimizer? No, I do not. I do not use the optimizer. It doesn't fit with to be honest, it just doesn't fit in the system that I use. The optimizer, in its early days, and that's the only experience I had with it, I could give it to 5 different people and it was recommending the same shaft. I don't see that. Now, Mizuno does not sit on their laurels for any shape of the imagination, and I'm sure it's gotten better because they're talking about being able to figure out the lie angle in 3D space. So they are making improvements to it. I would give it a test, but I'd also, if they said that's what it is and they have it, they obviously have a fitting cart, have them put one together and see if it actually works. There's my guy. All right, I got questions for you, man. Okay, tips for length and weight on graphite as far as building goes. As you know, Jim is attempting to okay, Christopher, I put one together. All right, and I missed the swing weight by about 1.5 points. All right, you probably won't notice it. However, it's going to feel different because you have a 95 in here versus whatever that is out there, but you can still feel head weight. I'm really kind of happy with the way that it came out. Now the question I have for you is, you had about right around a 37-inch 5-iron, right? Now, what I've been doing at 37-inch 5-irons is I've been going in 3/8-inch increments down to the 9-iron, and that tends to keep it more MOI matched. It kind of gives it a better balance. I saw where you're in a 1/2 inch on yours. Do you still want me to do 1/2 inch increments, or do you want me to do this 3/8 inch? Because I've really only made the 9. I could always go back, but let me know. Do you want to try the 3/8 inch increments, or do you just want to stay with the 1/2 inch so it's more like yours? Let me know. They're turning out good as far as this is one beefy shaft, dude. It is nowhere near that one you've got in your steel with that other one. This thing is a brute. I like the cool. I mean, you did good from a cosmetic point of view. I think this thing is clean as all get out. But you will. I mean, I can cut them any way you want, and that's where we're at. And then we'd be ready to go. Just let us know what you want to do. I was hoping and praying that you were going to be on here so I could ask you that. Dornach, Scotland. Thank you, James. Thank you for sticking up for this whole time, buddy. Looking to use a 70-gram graphite. I'll start over. Looking to use a 70-gram graphite shaft for irons, but need lower torque. Use Nippon Stelos steel. You can. The other one I would is this guy. The 70 gram from the TGI is kind of a lower torque version of the same. It's made off of. I see it. I'm being told it's time. The TGI and graphite is it's made off of the KBS Tour profile, and I don't think you'll be disappointed. All righty. Okay, guys, it's 6:36. I went over again. I'm going to give you 2 more in here, and we'll go. How would hard stepping affect ball flight of the ball? I've put a 5-iron and a 4-iron staff extended a 1/2 inch longer. Will play the same as buying a 4-iron. No. So hard stepping, all right, if all things created equal, you probably won't notice it. It's more of a tweak, okay? However, in the long and the short of it is, you're putting a stiffer shaft into that club, so the ball flight ought to be a tad lower than what you're looking at, right? And if you don't catch it, it's going to fade on you. Now, if you're extending it, you extend it so you could get that extra 1/2 inch. It's still going to be that kind of flex because you're talking about tip and flex. So just a slightly lower ball flight, okay? And you may have the propensity to fade it. And that would be that one. All righty. What's your thought? Okay, George, here we go, guys. I think I got one left here. The 1-length irons. I like that. The idea of a 1-length iron is really, really good. All right. 1 swing, 1 iron, multiple different distances. We've had very, very good luck with that in the past. However, I will mention this. If you've been golfing for a long, long time and you are not prepared for it mentally, you will not like it. You have to come into that thing with an open mind that each one, because I guarantee you will go, oh, this is a short 5-iron. I got a grunt, and you'll hit it bad and go, oh, this sucks. No, you've got to put the same swing on them all the way through in order to get the different results that you desire. But outside of that, yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. All righty. Last one right here. Tiger Burning Bright. Also, can I ask why people who swing fast with 7-iron over 95 need an X flex and heavier as opposed to light and a regular flex? No. So basically, again, what we're talking about is if you're at 95 mile an hour, that's basically you can be in an S flex. It also comes down to the way you transition, the way you release, your aggressiveness or fluidity in that. And there are plenty of X stiff that come in weight classes that you can go lighter, right? And you can also go heavier in when you're in regular flexes as well. So, but the reason why as a whole, now I will say this, the reason why as a whole, the more stiffer clubs the heavier clubs are more stiff is because there's just more material on it, right? You don't need as much material to obtain a regular flex as you do for an X flex, and you just get more material in there, and that's what makes it. That's the reason why they're heavier. In order to get something that was very lightweight and then very stiff, it would be very brittle and it would be very hard to maintain, and that's what it is. 3/8 it is, brother. I will take care of it. I just did, or we just talked about that in our last one, and there's a fellow in the UK that absolutely loves them. I think they're a really great design. I think they're going to be okay. All righty, guys. Last one. Do you think T100s is more forgiving? I don't know. T100s are more forgiving than a T100, giving there's more toe weight. I don't know what you're asking me, bud. The answer is yes. And the next show, we do it on Mondays at 17:30 Eastern time every time. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. UK, Scotland, Ireland, Netherlands. This is the first time my Sweden guy hasn't shown up. That's something else. But hopefully he was having a medical issue. Both sides of the coast, man. Life is good. Again, guys, thank you so very much for checking in. And don't be afraid to ask. Now, if there's something you'd like from us, McGolfShop@roadrunner.com or clubmaker@mcgolf.net. And Robin or I will be able to take care of you. And as always, let's see your scores go low.